What's going on, guys? First of all, happy new year, and I hope you guys do have an amazing creative year ahead of you. But you know what, I don't want to waste any time. This animation right here, a few people had requested it, and I just thought it would be a great way to kind of just break it down, um, to kind of start the year with that. By the way, if the tutorial doesn't end here, the full video will be on YouTube. So anyways, let's get into it. So as you can see, this animation here, first of all, it was actually inspired by a studio that I saw on Behance, and I just thought, man, this animation looks really cool. Like, can I recreate something like this? So I just thought to myself, you know what, let's give it a shot. And this was what I came up with compared to what the original one was. So first of all, what I did was I got a reference. As you can see here, this is the actual animation, and I went onto Illustrator to look for the font that, as you can see, behind all my layers here. Behind all my layers here, this is the actual font that was used. So I just started scouting, and eventually I found something that resembles the original one. So then after I got it, I wrote out the letters, and then you can see them right here. Actually, before that, you can see this is the text. So if you were wondering what the font is, this is it right here, the Lost Regular. So anyways, I typed it out. So what you want to do is, let me duplicate this right here. You want to right click on it, and you want to create outlines, because if you don't create outlines, then the text will all be together as one text. So we want to kind of break them down, like to make sure they're each letter, so you're able to animate easier. So anyways, you want to right click, and you see where it says create outline. Once you click on that, then you don't see anything happen. Then you right click again and you ungroup. Once you ungroup, then each of the letters will be you can see one each. So that was how I arrived at this right here. You can see each of my letters are separated. And another reason why you want to do this is because when you take it into Adobe After Effects, you want to have each of these letters sort of separated. Anyways, once you have them, you can see they are all on each of their own layers. All you just got to do is just save it as an Illustrator file. Then when we go into Adobe After Effects, you're gonna have each of the letters all separate. So this is the full animation. You might be like, wow, with all these animation, is this all the few layers that we have? No. So it's actually a lot of layers, but what I did was, after each of the animation for each of the letters, I pre-composed each of them. So we're gonna start with the B right here. So the B animation. So if I play it out, you can see, so it's there. So what we're gonna do is, like I said, let us break it down. So if you don't know, if you've never heard something called match cut, this is a great example of a match cut, because match cut is really, it makes your animation looks complex. Meanwhile, what you're just doing essentially is just you're picking two different animations, but they're sort of two identical animation, and you kind of cut between the highest velocity at which that animation is playing out. So for example, if I had a ball and a cube falling at the same time, I want to make sure they are at the same velocity, right? Obviously, because this is a ball and this is a cube, and I wanna cut between them. I want to do a match cut. So I'm gonna have both going the same direction, and what I'll do is, at the point where it's supposed to land, that's when I cut to the next, so from circle into a square. So that's why it tricks the eyes, makes it feel like, oh, there's sort of like a moth. Meanwhile, it's not. So this is a great example of that. As you can see, you see how the ball goes from black, it turns into orange, and you can see the other sort of shapes I just created. But anyways, let's just go through each of the layers. So what I did here is, we have the bee. So I broke down the bee into different parts, and each of the parts, this is a circle here. So the circle comes out of the, sort of the back of the bee there. And then the other shape, sort of, I used, what's it called? I used the scale. So I animated the scale, but instead of animating it proportionally, I unchecked the proportion so that I can only animate on the x-axis. So as you can see, it animates from here to the back, and same thing for the top one here. And we have the circle kind of squishing in, and then it jumps. So we create sort of an anticipation for the circle. So if I click on the circle here and I press U to show all my keyframe, you can see I was just playing with the scale. So I kind of like, squash, and then kind of, jumps up, and that's where you animate the position. So it's going from down to up, and then when it gets up, it cuts from that into the same circle, but now the color is changed. So it tricks the eyes to make it seem like, oh, there's sort of a moth. It's really all we're doing here is just a match cut. So it's something that you should keep in mind if you wanna make your scene look a little bit complex. And as far as these colors here, it's the same circle. All I just did was added a transition, which is Venetian blinds. So what Venetian blinds would do is, you can see if I increase the width there. So it basically takes your shape, and then it adds sort of, it converts them into like lines. It's supposed to be a transition, but you can use it however you want. As you can see, if I uncheck it, I get the solid circle. But if I add it, and then it becomes this. So, and you can always play with the directions. You can see right here, you can play with its transition complete or whatnot. So let me just undo that. So like I said, all I'm doing is just match cuts, and they come back to same position at the end. So that's really it for the bee. It starts from what the bee is, does all these paparazzis, and then comes back to its state. So let us go to the next one, which is the R. And if I double click on the R animation, you can see right here we have the R. So I kind of like just break it down, created different colorful shapes. So you can see I created a circle, added an ellipse to it. So if I click on it, and we will see here, we're playing with the position, the scale, the rotation. So you can see it cuts from the black, introduces the colorful shape with the yellow and white, and then we animate its position up, and while it's going up, we animate its rotation, and then as it falls back down, it becomes the entire R in black disappears, and then, which is again a match cut, it disappears, and it tricks the eyes to make it seem like, oh my god, that seems like a complex animation. It's not. We're just playing with we're cutting from one layer to another layer. So like I said, we animate a scale from 100, and then you see it becomes smaller. Then I introduce a square, which the circle falls inside the square, and once it falls, the square, tilts to the right, and while it's tilting, you can see the small part of the R here also reacts, and then it jumps up. And all I'm doing as far as that is just scaling it up, and then I change its anchor point to the edge, so I can rotate from that perspective. So yeah, the circle is still within the square. It's kind of like just moving around inside the square there. They're really easy stuff that you can do. And then we introduce this rectangle right here. So what I did with the rectangle is, you can see I animated its rotation from this anchor point. So it rotates to the left, and then when it comes back, it rotates to the right. So to rotate it to the right, what I did is I introduced a null and parented it to to that edge right here, so that I can control the left leg and the right leg individually, separately. So yeah, it comes back, it rotates, and then by the time it falls back, it becomes black again. And you can just see how you can make your scene a lot complex than it looks. Like you do very minimal work, but you make your audience feel all amazed and all that paparazzi. So when this falls back, I animated its rotation to just give it some sort of secondary animation right there. So when it falls, boom, then it's like bam, bam, just to make it look cool. And you can see, to add more dynamic to and sort of like a secondary animation to the circle, it still continues to rotate. And then after everything all dies down, then it jumps up to kind of gives like, oh, there's sort of another thing about to happen. So it creates that anticipation, pops up like that, and by the time it falls back, then everything comes back together again to form the R. So that's really it for this as well. So like I said, it's like just playing with position, scale, rotation, and yeah, and the rest is just your imagination. Let us go to the next one, the U. I know this one is one that's very tricky because from the original animation, as you can see here, they had these bubbles going on inside the U. So I thought, how can I recreate this? Because like, what? This just seemed to me like we're gonna need the warp effect to kind of create that water feel. So if I go into my own U animation, first of all, we kind of squash the U. I duplicated the U, so as it's animating down, we have another one, kind of it feels like it's a cup, and then it's filling up. But mind you, the colors, I added a fill color, red, so it fills up. And for the filling up, I used a linear wipe to kind of take it from 0, and I changed its angle to have this landscape direction, so to speak. So as it scales down, that fills up, and then it scales back up, and as it's scaling back up, as you can see, we cut into another U, but without a fill. So now we're just using its stroke. So when it changes to that, but we still have our our feel of from the previous, as it's filling up, that doesn't change, so it's still staying right there. Then we have this tiny little guy here, which is supposed to be from the U. As you can see, there's sort of a gap in here, so that's what pops up, it just shoots up, and with that, it's just you're playing with it. You're playing with the position and rotation, so it goes in a y direction, and as it's shooting up, we rotate, and then it falls back down. It goes up, rotates, and boom. So once it lands, boom, then we have this sort of like as if you poured water into a cup, and all this dispersion happens. So, and to what I did here was I created a new composition, and as you can see here, this is the composition where there's the water and on the bubbles, so to speak. So for the bubbles, what I did was create one circle, and I animated it to like fall and then come back up. So then after doing that, then I just duplicated it in multiples, and I changed its direction, in different directions, and I made sure that they're not all just falling at the same time, to just give a little bit of dynamic to it. So they fall, they hold on for a little bit, and then they start all going back up. And as far as the water, actually it was just sort of a preset that I found online, and that creates this water fill for your shape layers. So this is the preset right here. You see, all I just did was just changing a few preset numbers there, and I was able to get what I wanted. So it gives that. So after I did that, then if I come back to this U shape, you'll see that I have that composition here, but then I needed to stay inside the U shape. So what I now did was I had another fill of the U, then I made it, I did a track matte so that I can have the water inside the U, if that makes sense. So it cuts, as you can see from our previous U, boom, then it cuts into that U with the water. So when they all come in and they go out like that, then it fills out to become the U as it was. So it's not anything that complicated. It might seem like that, but yeah, that's just the gist of how that was created. And let us go to the next one. The next one is gonna be T. Let's double click on T right there. Let's play it out first. Again, match cut. Match cut would just help you or save you, however you want to put it. So what I did was I had created all these. You're basically just breaking your shape, your letter, you're breaking it into different colorful shapes. That's really what I'm doing here. So as you can see, the T, it becomes a colorful head of the T, and then I animate sort of the rotation of that, and you can see, and from the bottom, this is rotating. And if you guess how this is rotating, all I did was had another null layer to the edge, so we change the anchor point to where we want the rotation to happen. So we change the anchor point, and then we had a null layer. Then we rotate that null layer to control the rotation of the square. And as for this T at the top, if I press U, you can see we start with the rotation, and then even then match cuts into another version of it, but this time we're just using only its stroke. And as you can see, it goes from that red, boom, jumps up, and then when it lands again, it becomes that it becomes the feel that we had initially. So you just have to really be playful with these things. Then when that the square falls, boom, then there's sort of like a it's sort of like a shootout. Like it falls, boom, then something like shoots it up, and boom, like that. So for the shooting up, obviously, we'll use our position. So you animate the position from the bottom to the top, and then it holds up a little bit. So that holding up, what I did here was, if I go into my graph editor, you can see here, you want to stretch out your curve, so it gives that pause in the air, so that it jumps up. It doesn't just fall right away. It jumps up, hold itself for a little bit. This is who is doing the magic right here. See how I've stretched it out a little bit here, and that will just hold its sort of its speed at that point. And then you can see holds it there for a little bit, then it falls. And then when it falls, it's from the square, I animated its scale. So from the square, I animated its scale to now stretch out. So then it falls, boom, and as it's landing, it's scaling. Then when it falls, I animated its position to sort of give that what's it called, like an overshoot. So like it doesn't just fall, we create sort of a bounce, like bam bam. So you can see there, boom boom, so it bounces, and even when it bounces on the red becomes black, and then we get our T back. So that's it for the T. Cool, for the T, get it? So the next one is A. This is another interesting one. Let me play it out. So for this one, let me go to the reference. So you can see this is what they did for the original one, but I'll be honest, I was struggling with it a little bit. But anyways, I just thought, anyways, I'm not even trying to like just do everything, like copy to copy. It's like I gotta find a way to create something that will be unique to me in a way. So I just thought, you know what, it would be cool if I could make this from being a triangle. What I did was I animated its path, because your shape layers will always come with paths, you know that, right? And then you can animate those paths. So the path is sort of how do I put it? It has a point that you can sort of animate, so you can move things around however you want. So I animated its path from how it was right now, so I move it up to kind of give that diamond shape. Then when it gets to the point where it's about to form the diamond, then we cut from that into this. And if you were wondering, how did I now create this? All I just did is I went into Cinema 4D, which you can do with any 3D software, right? And I just animated a diamond shape. So if I play it, you can see there. So I just did this in 3D and then rendered it out, then brought it back into After Effects. And for this, I just added the cartoon effect and I added the color, then it gave it the black outline there. So it's literally that, and as you can see, so then when it falls, instead of me allowing it to to fall all the way. I just didn't really like how it settled here. So I just thought, you know what, I'm gonna cut it before it actually lands. And that's what I did right here. So just about when it lands, then I match cut again from that into a triangle, but with just a stroke. So you can see, boom. Then you guessed it, I added a null layer to its anchor point here, so I'm able to just rotate from that angle. So you can see like that. Then when it's done, then it scales down from that particular angle. And then let me see, as you can see, where is it at? So don't forget we added the null layer to this triangle. So the null layer is what I'm animating its scale here. So animates goes smaller, then we animate its position and rotation. So it goes up and then holds itself in the air a little bit, then comes back down, and as it falls, it becomes a full solid triangle. So that's really it with that. It's also not that complicated. It's just all match cutting between shapes, layer, colors, you know, all that good stuff. Then we have L. Let's play that. Oh, this one is really nice. So same thing, it's all match cut. The L just changes to stroke lines, and then kind of like break that, and you just have the small little square animate its position and rotation. And as it gets into the air, this one right here, as it gets into the air, it match cuts into the same thing, but then we're just making it a solid. Then it feels more interesting. And as you see, as the longer part of it is going this way, we just create a dynamic flow where they go the separate ways. And then when they land, there's always something happening. There's always some sort of conversion. And again, you can see I added the Venetia blind to this, which you can always add to any of your layers that you want. So it's just a lot of animating the scale, position, rotation, and you can see they all still come back to how it was initially. So that's really it for the L. And then the last one, which is the dot, I didn't do much here really. I just animated its position, and while it changes position, I just changed the color basically of the circle there. Boom, boom, and it goes back to its initial state. So yeah, and that's really it really.